Hey, viewers, welcome back to the Atheist Roundtable with David Oliverio, your host, the Preaching Humanist. That is I. Special day today. Here we have, sitting right next to me, the new president of the ACA, Jamie Boone. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
And also his host on Talk Heathen show, Eric Murphy.
Hello, hello.
There's Eric right there.
Thank
I think
you so
most
much.
of you know these very famous young guys right here. And of course, my buddy Eric over here.
Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
There can be only one.
Well, I only have one.
Let's hope, right?
He means only one Eric.
Only one Eric.
Oh, only one Eric. Yeah. Well, then it's going to be me. I'll change it.
All right.
Well, today, let's talk about Jamie first. I want you to give a quick little bio.
Little old me.
Our new president. So congratulations.
Oh,
I don't
thank
have you don't have a ring there for me to kiss.
Nah.
Kiss
No,
with the
not
ring.
yet. I'm going to the jeweler later today. Don't worry. No. So, as far as who I am, born and raised in Austin, 25 years old. Volunteering with ACA for a couple of years now. Been on the board for a year and a half. The term is usually 1 year, but I came in the middle of I guess now 2 boards ago. But yeah, I'm happy to take the initiative as far as that's concerned on a lot of new things that we want to get started. But you know, baptized and raised Episcopalian. I'm not sure if you wanted to ask me that later
That's all
in the
right.
show.
No, go ahead.
But I found my way free of that actually only a few years ago in 2014. And then very, very quickly I turned around and got involved in activism, because the moment you realize, oh, wait, not only is there not a good reason to believe this stuff, but actually it hurts people a lot and all the time.
I just said that.
Yeah.
I like that, yeah.
It doesn't take long for people that feel like to see people that feel like they're doing good when they raise their kids with fear and indoctrination and in many cases hate. And then, you know, I didn't even have, 3 nieces and nephews then, but I don't want to see kids raised to hate.
Right.
Absolutely not.
And then, actually, I should mention Talk Heathen that we're on.
Yeah.
So we, Eric Murphy and I, the guesting Eric that's not usually here, as opposed to we'll say new Eric and Eric Classic.
Well, we've decided Eric B and Eric M.
Yeah.
Sounds like rapper
okay.
names,
All
all
right.
right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Eric M. Slice
Yo.
Home Dog over here. And I do a live call-in show where we talk to theists and atheists. With theists, we like to talk about what they believe and why. And with a lot of non-believers, it's call in, tell us your deconversion story.
That sounds like
How are you
another
doing?
show.
What do you, well, yeah, it is.
Did you, was that an original idea? I don't.
Well, there's this other show that kind of has a similar format called the Atheist Experience.
What's that?
Well, it's this live call-in show where they take calls from believers and non-believers alike. And when believers call in, they like to talk about what they believe and why. And when
like
non-believers and call in, they usually end up on deconversion stories. But it's entirely and completely different.
Is it now?
So let me interrupt you real quick.
Please.
I appreciate what you guys do. I love your show, and if you're one of my viewers and you've never watched Talk Heathen, you got to watch it. Now, what we all agree about here is diversity. There it is, Talk Heathen on the coffee mug. Is diversity is so important, and we have different methods, we have different styles, definitely different age and generation, which is all good. It's all good, and we here at the ACA, we have that, so we want diversity and all, and I'm excited about the future, what's going on here. So I really am.
Yeah, we got stoves and plans to cook
saw
up
that
the.
this morning. Yeah.
Good. Get a little community thing going here, too. Right? Not
Yeah.
just the activism, but the community. Because we're out a lot, right? Like yesterday, right? In
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in Georgetown, man.
We meet atheists all over the place in rural, small town areas that ask us all the time, where do you guys meet? They're looking for a place. Yeah.
Atheist community of Austin.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's actually also call some attention to David, because what I did not hear, what was announced, is that David also has a new position at the ACA. David is a board member.
Newly minted,
And
yes.
so we have 2 officers, we have 2
Yes,
people
we do.
in the room with us. We are,
In
Well, I
the
look
presence
forward
of
to working
royalty.
with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Same here, man. Same here. It's going to be great.
it will be.
So, Eric,
And they're my bosses. They're my bosses.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. That's kind of.
So I'm also.
I'll take that. Yeah, I'm your
actually
boss.
the social media coordinator for the ACA. So you guys say a thing and I jump, and that's all right. Actually, we also have our audio engineer who's making sure that we sound pretty right now.
Who is not only the Lord of Sound now, he is also a member of the board.
Yep.
That's right.
Newly
Should we
elected.
mention these
Vern.
these more inconspicuous, hardworking activists. Without them, what would we?
Vern is never seen, only heard. No.
Well, Vern came out yesterday and spent some time with us.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. He came out.
Awesome.
And it was awesome. I mean, it really was awesome. Truthfully, I mean, I enjoyed talking to him, and he's, very big on community. And he was talking about doing things here, getting more things, for the community, and having people be able to feel like we are a community right here in this building and not have to always go out to create the community, So, and it was really, and he's interacting with the people and, people who wanted to speak, and he's so well-spoken, and he's absolutely, it was really great to have him come out. So we enjoyed having him out there.
Vern, you did good. And Mark, thank you for all you do.
Mark is our producer. He's the producer for all of all programs, and we love you, Mark.
We do, Mark. Group hug. He's
Another one.
Another group hug. All these group hugs.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so let's get to it, guys. So I spoke on Atheism, A Better Life, one of the topics. Yeah. And I've been talking to believers now for, I don't know how many decades. And I love to give them my testimony that once I became an atheist and I let go of Christianity, something happened in my life. I became happier. I seemed to have more morality and ethical behavior. And even yesterday, talking to believers out in Georgetown, there are several people that don't understand that concept. So I want to make sure before we get into it, let you guys talk, that I'm not saying that it's for everybody, that 100% of the people that were once very strong believers and they come into atheism are going to have a better, happier, more moral life. But my experience, because I don't just talk to Christians, I talk to fellow atheists a lot. I love to just sit and ask questions about their deconversion stories and how they came to atheism. Most of them, my experience, maybe 85 to 90% of them all say, oh gosh, I'm happier, I feel free, my moral compass is higher, I'm more ethical, I have more consideration for other people. All the things that believers in the Bible, because all of us here are once Christians, have told us that these morals and virtues are all Christian. The Galatians chapter 5, the fruit of the Spirit stuff. It's human, right? So that's what I want to talk about. So basically, first thing I talked about was true freedom. It just was a real sense of freedom for me over 30 years ago. Yeah. It really was. I just came to that, and I talked to believers. I said, well, actually, you've replaced, in Christianity, they've replaced one master for another one. I mean, they talk about being free from sin, but yet Jesus said, oh, no, you're not free. Come here. You got to take upon you my yoke, a restriction upon you. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. So I would say it's really a life of freedom, free thinking, right?
Yeah. It does, although I will say that it comes at a price. When you first leave, there's a solid uncomfortability. French philosophers called it anomie. And it's that sense of complete loss. The floor has fallen out of your moral and ethical underpinnings and the way that you view society. And so building that back up with a secular humanist view, not just, it's not just the atheism, but it's how we treat each other. And when you get there and you realize, oh my gosh, it's just me and you. No, you're absolutely right. All of a sudden it becomes a whole lot easier because it's like, I am going to be a caretaker for my environment, for my community. I'm going to grow it. And all of a sudden you do feel like you're not, reporting to the middle manager, which is your religious, on the way to morality and ethical behavior, but you're actually creating it.
Yeah, your life is more unique if it's the only one you get.
Exactly.
Also, I have to jump in. Did you pronounce the French that way just to try and get to me?
I do a lot of things just to get to you, Jamie.
I do.
You can tell these guys are really good friends. You guys are good buddies.
Yeah, we are.
Good rapport. I can sense.
I'm doing everything I can not to dominate all the show. But no, I agree. It's it's kind of like going through a bad breakup. Like when I see a person who's entirely trapped in religion, but they enjoy it and it's the best. It's very much like seeing a friend of mine who's in a terrible, terrible relationship, and they don't see that the person they're with is incredibly controlling and is trying to tell them, no, the things you feel, those are bad feelings. You have to come here. We need to hang out at least once a week. You should always act like I'm watching you every second
and
of
everything. And you should always put me above
everybody else. Yeah. Before anyone else, but I mean that literally, before your family, because there's the passages in the Bible that make it very clear that Jesus's family values are not about actual family terms.
Absolutely.
Father against son and all this. And so there is the part where as soon as you deconvert, you go through basically like, oh no, I'm single, but with religion phase, but once you get through that, you realize, wow, that was a really shitty relationship.
Yeah.
Well, you said that about family, and is exactly one of the big things that made me move away from religion, is that, it was always God first. It's always God and the church first, and then family. And not so much when I was single without children and a wife and everything, but then when I did, have a wife and had children, I just never could make that true for me. I never could make it where it was God first. I always thought, why would I put this thought, this thing that I can't touch or feel or see, and nobody has proven to me before my wife and my children and even my friends, and I just couldn't ever do it. I never felt like I was able to, believe that and do that, and, it's my family means everything to me, they're always first. They will always be first. And for somebody to come along and say, oh, no, put this unknowing thing that you can't see, touch, feel, that's never, to me, it never given me anything or provided anything, even happiness, as much as I sought it. I was like, well, that just doesn't ring true for me, and I can't do it. I couldn't do it then, and I'm glad I got out of it because it does make me happier. It makes me happier to not even have to think about it or try to, attain that, to be that person who puts God first in all things, above, my wife who's with me and goes through everything with me, and my children who, I helped to, biologically create, and who, I just...
You poor thing.
Is that what the kids are calling it these days?
So you're saying, is what you're saying that you might be experiencing a better life?
I forgot.
It's funny that you should use that phrase.
Yeah, I forgot to show the book right here. What is it, Chris Johnson's book, A Better Life? Yeah, beautiful.
Joy and meaning. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, let's move on. Better decision making. I talked about that in my episode. For me, it was back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, when I was out traveling and preaching. I remember I was married. I had 2 small children. And my decisions were based on prayer, asking the daddy in the sky to give me direction. And so many believers do this, but I made so many mistakes. And I know a lot of it was because I was young, but I didn't think these things through. I remember I thought God spoke to me to leave the little church in Waco that I started in the 80s, take my wife and my 2 small kids, drive all the way to Phoenix, Arizona, to work with an older pastor in his church. That lasted 3 months. I came home. So, so many wrong decisions. So what I tell people now is, rather than praying, we actually use reason. We get counsel from other people. It's all humanism. It's naturalism, right? There's no daddy in the sky. So for me, it has increased and made better decision making all around so far in my life. Yeah.
Making the decisions about what you do in your life on Earth based on what's in your life on Earth seems like a reasonable approach to me, rather than what you feel like might maybe be it in your head and then moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I kind of want to jump in on that because I remember making decisions based on prayer. And what I remember is it had so much to do with guilt and shame. And
Absolutely.
When you're motivated by your guilt and shame, and then on top of that, you're saying, oh, this isn't what I want. This is what God is telling me. All of a sudden, it's a unique way that people try and justify their own decisions because it's funny how much God agrees with you.
That's good. Yeah.
But to put the power of the will of the Lord into, I almost did it, into your decision making, what that does is it really prevents you from giving it an honest second assessment until you jump into it, right? So talking to everyone at this table outside of this conversation, we've all had times where we've said, you know what, actually, I'm wrong, or you're right, or let me think about that, or and taking it and truly, genuinely going, I need to chew on this, and making an informed decision based on that. It creates that ability to get a second look at things, so you're not just digging your heels in before you even do anything, you know?
Yeah. Isn't it just a lack of respect for the human mind in a way? For believers, it's like, well, I can't really do it without God. I can't figure these things out without God. He knows what's best and so forth. And that's what I find with believers so often.
Well, you know, I find also that, going to church and, doing the whole, I will pray for something better to happen for somebody else or whatever. I didn't go out and actually do things for people.
Oh
much.
my gosh!
Now,
Yeah, that's a good point.
literally now. So I work every other weekend. Every other weekend that I don't work, I'm out every weekend with David and various other people. We go out, we feed the homeless, we provide clothing when we have it for the homeless, and just other things like that. I never did that before. I didn't. It was always, to the church, tithe, give us the money, we'll go out and do it. I don't need you to go out and do it for me now. I go out and do it, and it is good to be able to go out there and know that you're doing something for somebody else, It is. I don't need the church to tell me that they're going to do it for me. I can do it. I'll do it.
Well, don't you think that's innate in us as a social species, though?
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of it's nurture and nature.
But part of that is it's innate in us as a social species to want to help and to feel like we're helping. And being able to pray, in many ways, starts to satisfy that or completely satisfies that and doesn't put food in the hands of hungry people.
That's a good point. Yeah, humans' hands solving human problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which ties us into the next topic.
Man, this is smooth.
I know. I'm keeping it quick because I want you guys to be able to add to it. These are just my top three, and then there are thousands more. How about it increases? This is a biggie for me, because I get this from believers a lot. It increases the value of life, right? Didn't we get that yesterday when we did our activism? Like, you mean, and I get this all the time, and you guys probably get it from believers when you talk to them on your show, because you guys get thousands of people calling.
And emails and comments and tweets. And
and it's so interesting for them to understand that, you know what, since I've been an atheist, since I don't have any belief in the supernatural anymore, my life, I value human life more now than I did as a evangelical Christian. It's funny how that works. We have one life, right? Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
Well, and you probably take more responsibility for it because there's not an all-powerful being that's going to take care of it for you just in case you don't, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, if you don't take care of it, nothing's going to happen. It's like the person that moves out of their parents' house for the first time and then realizes, oh, wait, the reason that everything was clean is someone was doing that for me. It's like, oh, no, if you don't take care of your apartment, if you don't take care of your life, you don't take care of other people's lives, there isn't a magical daddy that's going to do it for you.
Right.
Yeah, and, exactly that.
Vacuum.
Living this life now, not waiting for this, supposed, greater life that's going to happen later, so again, having to give everything to this supposed mystical God being so you can attain that life, and we had, I remember one lady in particular, she asked us that, said, what do y'all think it's going to be like after? And my answer was, I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do now. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do today and the plans that I've made with other people, that I'm going to go and do, helping other people, and living my life, and also part of it is enjoying life, and enjoying the things in life that I like, and not having to worry about every other minute whether or not, is that something that's going to now violate these rules set up by some body from the Bronze Age that I'm going to, break?
And those rules don't even always, they don't last they need to continuously be changed. When you're searching from without for moral guidance, it gets really weird. I was actually reading the other day it was an article about in early Catholicism, there was this time, I want to say Victorian, but correct me if I'm wrong in the YouTube.
I always do.
That there was this rash of infants being murdered by young women, and not their own kids, but they would go and find someone's baby and murder it.
Oh.
And the reason that they did it is because they knew that if they committed suicide, they would go to hell. But when you're a baby, you automatically go to heaven. And so if they kill the baby, they'll be sentenced to death, in which case they won't take their own life. Their life will be taken, but they can still go to heaven.
Wow.
And so it was a loophole that these young women had found to get to heaven.
Wow.
And in the world that we're in, holy crap, they're killing babies. Like, they're killing people's babies. You know, and the church went back around and they were just like, okay, no, you can't kill people's babies. It doesn't work like that, you know. But they had to do that, where in reality, if you didn't have that weird framework, you wouldn't have that. How horrendous is that?
Isn't it more about valuing the soul, what they believe in, more than just human life? I mean, it comes right down to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Saving them souls as opposed to what's going on right now here in front of me.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think, Eric, you and I came from the same background. Kind of that hardcore Pentecostal right wing.
Well, not Pentecostal, but it was diet evangelical.
Okay.
It was
so very similar. But
it was very similar.
We didn't seem to value, we didn't do a lot of social justice. We didn't do a lot of caring for the poor and the needy very much. It was more about saving the soul. And I see that it really correlates with back in the Middle Ages or Dark Ages, the torture and everything they did to unbelievers. It really wasn't about human life. I mean, they could saw an unbeliever or an infidel in half, a person who's alive at that time, and not even worry about the pain that person's going through. It was all about the soul. It was a supernatural thing. And that's what I find even with Christians. The further they are on the left, more progressive, they tend to be more like a humanist, right? They tend to want to go out and do things for people.
Well, we spoke to that lady yesterday who was Jewish. Remember, she came over, said her and her husband, and she was asking us a whole bunch of questions. But she kept saying things like that you know, well, it's just about the social aspects of the Jewish faith or the you know, the community and everything, and that she doesn't believe most of the other religious and the supernatural parts of it. And of course I didn't say it to her, but I thought to myself, well, why don't you just get rid of all the other stuff and just keep the good, because that's just the human part. That's just the humanistic part of it. What you're describing is humanism, you know, and we don't need the rest of it.
Absolutely.
You know, to be good, to have a good life, you don't need it.
That's a harder sell with Judaism, because a lot of the religious practices, holidays where you eat fantastic food and drink as much as you want, and some of them it's about drink until you black out. But Purim,
fun.
Purim
fun.
is
we have an alternative here. I'm over here.
Yeah, I'm happy to serve you a drink if you want one. Not the ACA officially, but Jamie Boone will serve you a drink.
And I will take that drink happily.
Yeah. Well, no, but I feel like you touched on that exactly with the focusing on the here and now rather than the after. If you go back to the Middle Ages or even further, that's a lot easier of a sales pitch, because what was going on there was everyone was dying, at most by the age 30, of terrible diseases that they had no explanation other than demons for. So it's like, no, don't worry, don't freak out. Yeah. If you do what I say, then you'll get something better than this.
Right. Yeah. You guys want to add anything else? These were just 3 areas for me personally. I mean, there's so many more things that I could say, but other than these 3, what else have you guys experienced since you let go and you changed your worldview and became an atheist?
So I was actually really, really excited that you asked me to be here, because I really wanted to share how getting rid of these manufactured issues were such a big change. Because the church that I went to, you were told that Satan was putting messages, subliminal messages, backmasked into music, and that shopping, consuming, or being a part of the secular world, right? We were in the world, we were not of the world. And I remember that all of my concern, all of my worries and time was wrapped up into that. And at the risk of sounding pretentious, it makes me think of the allegory of the cave. It does. You know, you have these prisoners who are shackled, looking at shadows on the walls, and they never get to see anything else. And so they think that is the world. And when you experience a freedom, when you experience that pulling away the curtain, you know, and unshackling that and being able to see the rest of the world, all of a sudden you get to see real problems. You get to see your neighbors and your community and a greater sense of the world where we do need to help each other instead of being those people screaming at shadows on the wall. Because what is it other than screaming at shadows? And it's just it doesn't get easier, but it gets more fulfilling because you know that you're addressing something real.
Yes, reality.
Yeah.
Reality is good.
That is a better life.
It is.
For sure.
Beautiful. I like that. You guys want to add something else? Jamie, what else do you think?
Well, it kind of touches on your better decision making. What I've experienced since, because the thing that led me to being godless was thinking skeptically and being a free thinker, is when you have a good method of rationally evaluating things and you have you place a value on empirical evidence, etc., then you don't get a story about how 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, poof, the universe existed and you're the center of it, and also here's a fairy tale and there's no details and it doesn't actually describe to you how anything works. It doesn't actually explain anything. Being able to, you know, listen to science podcasts or things like that. And I'm not as big a science guy as many non-believers are, but being able to, you know, even try and understand the nuclear physics behind what a star is. Because it's not just, oh, it's a giant burning ball of gas.
It's not. Or, that's what I thought it was.
Or a little, you know, tap of a paintbrush by God, depending on your religion. You know, the sky isn't a carpet painted by God or whatever. Then you can actually learn, wow, no, that's, you know, billions of light years away, and the universe is this vast, you know, place that can be explored and examined, and there's no reason for me to be afraid to think. Right? Being able to shed the mental shackles that weigh you down, that's the real yoke.
Yeah, the world is so much more interesting because of what you just said, instead of just that, well, what is all that in the night sky? Well, God's there. God did it. Oh, okay. So now let me go on and do whatever else y'all tell me that God wants me to do. But just like you said, now we know, you know, those who are truly scientists, you know, those of us who like to read it, you know, we know what it is, you know, and we can read about it, and it goes on, and there's so many mysteries out there, and, you know, and we haven't solved them all, but we keep trying and we keep exploring, and it's so much more interesting that way, you know. It does. It gives us a better, you know, more interesting and enjoyable way of learning, you know.
Maybe we get into hearing people say that ignorance is bliss. I mean, you know, you get people that don't really explore things of science and say, well, I'm not sure how it all began, or wonder what this means and this means. I guess the life of reason, and once you let go of Bible belief and these supernatural mythological belief systems, you have to actually start thinking and reading and figuring things out. And that's the freedom. Your mind is free to do these things. I think it's a beautiful life. But it requires a lot of thought, a lot of contemplation, study. And back as a believer, when I was a young Christian preacher, it was easy, man. It was everything you need's in the Bible. That's it. You know, the divine command theory, everything just right here. And now you have to actually think for yourself, have dialogue with other people, have nuance and differences, and we look for evidence and truth, right? I think it's a beautiful way to live.
I do too. I do too. I'm sorry. I got caught up in what you were saying. It's because it has so much to do with introspection. You know, that ignorance being bliss, right? I was an apatheist before I was an atheist. I had let go of God and I stopped giving a crap. But that did not exempt me from existential crisis. And I don't know how you can step away from that, having experienced it. Now, if you never have, maybe that's not even a thing. If you were never told that you were going to get cupcakes and belly rubs every day after you died, you know, you're not going to miss it. But if you did, all of a sudden you think, well, what does happen after I die? And then you start to really ponder the nature of your own existence. And I don't think ignorance can ever get you there. You can try, but you're just going to push it to the back of your mind, because it is a question that we have to answer.
Living a life of ignorance where you don't really understand everything, but you feel like someone has told you it's magical, is precisely the same way that children live. And I'd rather not live my life as a child.
It is child thinking, you're right. And a lot of people want that ignorance because they don't, they're afraid of what, if they do explore, what it might show them, you know, I guess, you know, not realizing that, you know, it's not bad. The things aren't bad, and they're not that scary, you know. And there are people who can help you understand, you know. You just got to look, you know, and learn and read and talk to people, you know.
How many people did we talk to yesterday when they came up to our atheist booth that went right to the Romans chapter 1 thing? Oh, evidence of God, just look at the trees. How can you explain that?
That's,
you know, look
that's
at
what
nature.
they always go to.
Corinthians 13:11. We were talking about it the other day.
Quote it, brother.
When I was a child,
Put on the spot.
I played like a child. I talked like a child. I reasoned as a child. And when I became a man, I put away childish things. That right there still holds some truth, because when you do get that divine command, you are just taking, you know, whatever's being told to you. You're not reasoning. You're just being an automaton. But when you do become aware, and it can be at any age. So I don't want to say when you become an adult, because that's a little patronizing. But the point stands.
A little bit.
The point stands that when you do take that responsibility, when you do own your autonomy, you put away childish things.
But so many of them are so fearful of doing that because the Bible warns them about them. You know, that I think it was Colossians 2 or 3 where Apostle Paul allegedly said, take heed that no one deceives you with the philosophy of man, the rudimentary principles of this world, and not after Christ. In other words, don't think like a person who uses reason and evidence. Don't think that way. Stick to what the Word of God says clearly. You know, don't get off track. And they don't want you to think you might figure this stuff out. And that's what the Bible constructors did in the New Testament especially, and the Old Testament alike, to keep people from reasoning and figuring this out.
I saw a person with a tattoo the other day on their arm, said, not by sight, but by faith. And I thought, wow, you have really went down the rabbit hole, man. You have tattooed it on your body. You know, I wonder, you know, I mean, people who get that far into it, can they ever be brought out of those fantasies and fairy tales?
I think they can, and you don't even have to point out that in Leviticus it tells you not to get a tattoo, but or is it? It may not be Leviticus, but that's
But, Jamie, that's the Old Testament. That's the law.
That's the Old Testament. Jesus fulfilled that, and then he got some sweet tats. That's what.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. Well, guys, what else before we close this thing up? What other areas in your life did you experience where you can say it's a better life since you let go of belief in a God? Anything else?
Can I just say masturbation guilt? Holy moly, masturbating got a whole lot better after I stopped feeling really bad about it.
Let's see, where is that? Genesis, was it 38? Onanism?
Yeah. Isn't it funny, though, that that's how the church took it? It's not having sex with your late brother's wife.
Yeah.
It's spilling your seed, right? It's not. Oh my! I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we manufacture much more of it afterwards, so it's not. It's not like there's going to be a shortage of it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, you guys want to talk about your show for a few minutes before we go?
I do, but I
on?
also want to say, as far as a better life is concerned, it made me much more comfortable examining the things that I already believed, and it made self-improvement a lot easier. I never, ever had any kind of consistent exercise schedule or had any sort of ability to motivate myself to eat well. Now is a bad example because I've fallen off of a diet and exercise. But until I deconverted entirely, and it was like, oh, okay, I do have to take responsibility for myself. I can't just leave this body behind.
Well, you're sitting next to a personal trainer.
That's true.
I'll give you the atheist deal.
All right. You're going to put me on the it's forget the Atkins diet. It's the atheist diet.
The atheist diet.
Hey, you might have just created something right there.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, patent that.
Diet books sell like hotcakes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And people eat those hotcakes while they're reading the diet book that tells them they shouldn't be eating hotcakes.
Anything else on topic, guys?
Well, I sleep better, literally sleep better at night because I don't go to bed and lay in bed and think about, am I going to hell? What did I do today that I shouldn't have done that I'm going to burn an eternal hellfire for? Boy, that was hard to go to sleep some nights thinking about that, So absolutely.
But playing devil's advocate, like we always do role playing when we're out there talking to people. Remember, I come up to the table and pretend like I'm a Christian and ask you guys questions. But most Christians would say, well, you just confess. You're born again. You've got Jesus. You confess your sins. He's faithful and just. He forgives you from all these sins. You don't have to worry about that thing. But you still do worry, like you said.
You do.
I did even back then, even though I believed all that stuff. I still thought, oops, I displeased my Heavenly Father. He's not happy with me. I'm not pleasing Him at all. So these thoughts were always in there. And now you're free from all that. It's really a good feeling.
It's sort of like I may not have belonged to a particularly conservative, not in the political sense, but conservative in the theological sense. Not a very fundamentalist sect, but I know lots of people that still do, and seeing two of them in the same place and one of them saying something like damn or something, and the second one saying like, oh, you better ask forgiveness for that, and they're like, oh, come on, is it really that big a deal? Well, when you get to the heavenly gates, they'll be saying that on whatever date at something time, oh, you said this and whatever. And then the first one that had said damn or whatever it was stopped and asked forgiveness and prayed there. And it was late at night. It was something like 11:30 p.m. before they were going to bed. It was like, oh, I'm really tired. Like, oh, damn it. Or something. But it was like, oh, you're right. I don't want to burn in hell for eternity. I better pray on it right now.
It's just such an immoral concept, that whole...
Oh, I'm going to the movies. I better pray over my popcorn before I eat it.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, that happens. They do that.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty for eating popcorn as long as it's good popcorn. Well, I'm picky on my popcorn.
If you have to pray every time you say damn, driving around here in Austin traffic, nobody would ever get anything done.
That's why it's so slow. Everyone's stopping to pray.
So what do you guys got going on your show today?
Well, I mean, we're taking live calls again. Most of the time we don't plan too much ahead. Eric usually is more eager to get to callers immediately than I am.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more I'm going to say today, but generally we're going to try and jump in.
I think we should do more talking. People want to hear from us as well.
Yeah, they don't say in the comments every single time, please just get to the call.
Yeah, the people that just want the call section. Yeah, they can wait a minute while we check in.
Send your hate mail to Jamie.
I bet you guys get a lot of that. I don't get too much.
No.
But you guys,
based on your smooth transitions, you've got content, and then you just keep with it. Real professional here.
Yeah, just smooth. Yeah, smooth.
Smooth.
We are
silk.
We are incredibly proud to be doing what we're doing, and we are incredibly proud to have this show, the Atheist Roundtable, having the Preaching Humanist, having Godless Bitches, Atheist Experience as our sister shows, and just nonprofits, we love you too, as our sister shows. This is us building that community together, a rising tide, right? And we're seeing it. We're seeing the excitement just in the board, watching you guys, and seeing people who are ready to do this.
Yes. And see,
it's beautiful.
Now getting me all fired up. Because that's one of my passions there, not just as a former evangelist, because we're like the blue-collar guys. We go out there and do talk to people individually. That's my thing. I'm not too good behind a computer.
Yeah,
but I like we need that, but I'm better out there face to face and talking to them and mingling with them.
Eric, I don't mean to volunteer you, but you should go out with them, one day. At the very least, get pictures for the
we need some.
members newsletter.
We need
Get this, I actually just finished my finals last week, so I will have
freedom.
more time.
So you have no excuses, and we're going to take all this free time that we know you have.
Oh, we need that. Haven't we been talking about that, Eric? Finding somebody,
getting some more people to come out and to be out there with us. I mean, everybody has a different way of interacting with people, and it's always good to get new perspectives, and it's fun too. It's fun to be out there talking to these people, not just theists and having those conversations with them, but with fellow atheists who come up and are just, again, they're so grateful to know that there's another group, there's other people out there,
Yeah,
do you know
fellow
how many
atheists, Eric Murphy, single man hoping to change that, possibly.
Oh.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Well, hey, no, get out there. Get your face out there, shining in the sun with it.
We need
Put that
some smiling.
Put that smiling face out there on the street. We'll see.
Now the thing is, if you come out there and video us, that's what I would love. So we can be free to do what we do. But you're going to want to engage in dialogue. You're good at that. So maybe one of us can take over for you and let you do some dialogue.
Oh,
I know you're going to just want to dive in.
But I'm not as nice in person as I am on the show.
That's the difference.
Okay, you've become a little bit aggressive on the show lately.
It has been seeping out, but I'm trying to be an exemplar here, and it hasn't. I apologize. I know I've apologized, and people have been like, "No, they like that part." It's like, no, but that's not what I want to model.
Sometimes we have to be.
Well, you got to be yourself.
Yeah.
And my thing is with that is we're human beings too. We have anger, we have, and we don't have to let ourselves be talked down to, and we don't have to let ourselves be, called bad names and things like that. We have every right to defend ourselves, and to express our opinion, vigorously if we want to. So you're fine.
I don't take threats good. Like yesterday, that woman came right up to us and started basically giving threats. So sometimes they need an in-your-face type person. So I'm a little passionate sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know.
So we do the deal toolbox of reason or whatever. We use different methods out there. Some Socratic, which you can't always use because we have a sign, ask an atheist.
As opposed to be asked by an atheist.
Right. Absolutely. But we do try to reverse it and put the weight of evidence and the burden of proof upon them.
Well, where it rests is on the person making the claim.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's fun. You have to be very versatile out there and use all the different methods.
Use the hammer of empathy. That's the
I like that.
Well, I definitely got to tie this back in because the title is Atheism, A Better Life. And I know that's a little tongue-in-cheek because it's when we find secular humanism that we do get a better, a better life. And that is a claim that we're making. And I think that sitting down and talking about it, we are showing that proof. And giving that proof that we can actually stand up and say, this is a better life, and this is why.
And thank you for bringing up the secular humanism. Just like we go out, we talk to believers all the time. They want to know, what is atheism? We tell them it's just the absence of belief in a God. But that's not a belief system. That's not a philosophy. No. It's, for most of us, not all, but most, we would say secular humanism. Being good without God, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So that's the philosophy. That's what drives us. You get me all fired up now. I mean, isn't the secular humanism and the passion for humanity?
It's the thing
that's what drives us to activism. And just showing people out there that we're not angry, bitter, nihilistic, we're smiling. And you saw the pictures we posted. I hope you guys saw it. We had some people from the ACA show up, so I took pictures of people who were all smiling, talking to believers. So it's so good for Christians to see us out there smiling, having fun and good dialogue with people.
Agreed.
But we don't back down either when they start threatening us.
Good.
No, you got to. All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Congratulations,
thank
President. Congratulations, Eric, on
social media coordinator.
Thank you very much.
His comes with a paycheck, so I'm kind of jealous, actually.
Nice. You're going to take us all out for dinner later.
Yeah.
The big bucks,
actually,
huh?
lunch.
You know what? That's
lunch,
cool. And then I will bill all of you. So this is
there you
fun.
go.
Well, I'll bill the two of you.
Yeah.
Did you see how quickly they stopped asking me? To
I
go to
did.
lunch?
I did.
Man,
We're saving up money for that.
Quick halt.
Yeah.
All right. I hate to do this, guys, but we're going to have to close right now.
Yeah.
So it's been so much fun today. So thank you, viewers, for watching the Atheist Roundtable, and have a wonderful day.